It's definitely not AIDS, right?
Oh, come on, you make everything about AIDS.
I do not make everything about AIDS.
Oh,
you just
remember
gotta...
gay Channing Tatum?
Well, that was different. That was a legitimate AIDS situation.
Patrick's spiral into an AIDS panic is something that happens. It's certainly something we all discussed in the room. Growing up gay and growing up in a time of HIV and AIDS, it becomes something that once you start thinking about those things, they build and build and build and you can't get it out of your mind.
We strongly advise that anyone with concerns about exposure get tested. Would you like me to look up testing sites in your area?
Oh, no, that's okay. I live in San Francisco. They give them out like coffee stirrers.
Great.
I love the scene where Patrick's on the phone with the operator. He can't get a hold of his friends and he just needs someone to talk to. I have a friend actually who has done that very thing. I just think Jonathan's charming and adorable and he's trying to cover up his anxiety and his fears, and he just needs to hear a human voice. I think most gay men have a moment that they can relate to where they think, what if I am positive? And that can spiral into irrational fears. I think HIV is this thing that can become a very fearful monster instead of a medical condition.
The spiral that Patrick goes on is not just about his fear of AIDS and the fact that he didn't use a condom with Kevin at the end of season 1. It's also kind of related to his feelings for Kevin at this time. So I think it also represents his fear of falling in love with Kevin. It's like a twofold panic attack, feeling that he can't be honest in his relationship with Kevin and at the same time starting to freak out because he's got this rash and he thinks, oh my god, this could be something more.
Yeah.
That's the
game I told you about. Top Trumps.
Top Trumps,
Yeah, I got them on eBay.
Oh my god.
Oh, even holding these cards again makes me feel like a kid.
Well, you gotta teach me how to play.
The Cage Match app came out of a British card game that a certain British member of our production brought to our attention.
Something I used to play as a kid in the playground back in England.
It's called Top Trumps. It's a very famous British card game, and there's all kinds of different sets of those cards.
Anything you can think of, Star Wars, Star Trek, the Royal Family, Miley Cyrus, Cats.
Amazing.
We would sit in the writer's room when we were coming up with it, and it was very easy for us to think of all these different archetypes.
Lusty lads of London against gay for pay.
One of my favorite Onion articles, the headline, 65% of all wildlife used for gay subcultures. It's really interesting the way people label themselves and how they label other people, and that was something we wanted to play with in the show.
Are we really talking about this?
Well, yeah. Why not? I mean, if we're going to be open.
Throughout last season and this season, we try and look at different types of relationships that can exist, and we're not trying to make any kind of judgment on what works and what doesn't work. And I think for Lynn and Dom, it made sense that they might be in an open relationship.
One of the cool things and challenging things about San Francisco is that there are a lot of different ideas of relationships there. Lynn is from an older generation. Somebody called it the Tales of the City generation, which I thought was interesting.
I think Lynn is a very experienced man and he's been around the block a few times. He's gone into this relationship with Dom thinking, let's just make it open, let's not worry about having any lies and deceits, let's just make it an open relationship.
Augustine is on a bad decision tour. He's done a lot of things to burn his life to the ground at the end of last season.
He's obviously broken up with Frank, things are not going too well, and so we just wanted to look at that a little bit.
If we thought he was going to bounce back immediately, he's clearly not in this episode. He still has a long way to go. He has to figure out how to rebuild his life, and in fact, he may not have hit rock bottom yet.
Are you seeing anyone? No? Delete, delete, delete.
I think Richie and Patrick will always be complicated. Patrick has in many ways fallen into this relationship with Kevin and still obviously has feelings for Richie. Whenever you see them together, there's a chemistry that's inherent between them, and that will always be there, I think.
I think Patrick and Richie had a really strong connection. When Richie reappears at his doorstep, there's a lot that goes through Patrick's mind. I don't know if he's thinking he wants to get back with Richie, but I think it suddenly jolted him into remembering the things that happened at the end of last season.